Welcome to the Mitch Zone on WPCX 97.1 FM. Here's your host, Mitchell Mercer.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Mitch Zone here on WPCX 97.1 FM here in Clinton, South Carolina, where we cover sports topics throughout the professional leagues and here on Presbyterian College's campus. Today is Wednesday, September 8th. My name is Mitchell Mercer, and today I will be discussing PC's football team win over St. Andrews 84-43 last Saturday, and preview the upcoming NFL season and who I believe will represent both the NFC and the AFC in the Super Bowl and how the rest of the NFL season will play out. But before we get started with today's show, I do want to provide a friendly reminder that none of the ideas expressed in this show are ideas of the school or faculty alike. Everything discussed in these shows are in line with the Title IX, the Garrett Book, and the law. All the ideas expressed today are conceived by the students themselves and have no affiliation with any anti-government or xenophobic groups. Now with that out of the way, I want to welcome you again to the Mitch Zone here on WPCX 97.1 FM here in Clinton, South Carolina. And before we get started, I just want to say, it's great to be back in the studio. So you obviously saw my previous episodes on YouTube that the first episode I was actually back in my home. The second episode I was in one of the classrooms on PC's campus, but it's great to be back in the studio. I miss this a whole lot, and it's great to be back. I know we have a lot of other students coming in this week and next week, so are going to be starting out their shows, and it's something that I'm really excited about to get this thing rolling, and for everything to get moving here on PC's campus with the radio station. So it's great to be back. And for our YouTube listeners, it's great to see you guys as well. Let's get started with the show. So, Presbyterian College football. Last Saturday, a shocker, an absolute shocker. I know if you saw my last episode, I thought it was going to be a 38-31 victory for PC. It was going to be an offensive. I knew there's going to be some points scored between both offenses, but my goodness, with a crowd of 3,238 at Bailey, PC scored 84 points over St. Andrews. It was 84-43 is the final, in Kevin Kelly's debut. And if you know Kevin Kelly, you're probably tired of me saying this, but he's the coach that never punts, goes for a lot of two-point conversions, and onside kicks a lot. And one particular player that, I got mentioned for PC, Ren Hefley. And guys, you've probably seen it all over the news. This has been on ESPN, it's been on CBS Sports, NBC Sports, but I got to read you this stat line. Ren Hefley was 38 of 50 for 538 yards with 10 touchdowns, his longest being 79 yards. And kind of look at, and then transitioning to the receivers, Matthew Rivera, 8 receptions for 137 yards. Kean Turner, 6 receptions for 52 yards. Develchero Powell with 6 receptions for 34 yards. Jalen Richard with 5 receptions for 156 yards. Oh my goodness, that's insane, because, when I was previewing this game on my last episode, I had no idea, Kevin Kelly's offense was going to be this explosive. Now, he does onside kick a lot, but what's really funny was, Kevin Kelly was 1 for 10 on onside kicks last Saturday, but looking at this stat line and look at the offense, I'm still speechless. I never thought this was I would ever see this on PC's campus. This is so unbelievable for me. And then really PC started out really strong. It was 28 to 14 in the first quarter. Ren Hefley had a 79-yard pass to Jalen Richard. Jones had a 62-yard pass from Hefley. Richard had a number 36-yard pass from Hefley. And then, St. Andrews were able to score some points. Allen, their running back, had a 46-yard rushing touchdown. Their quarterback Flower had a 21-yard rushing touchdown. So St. Andrews was able to get some rushing yards, but really for this PC passing offense, it was just crazy to watch. And then Tyler Huff actually came in at near the middle of the third quarter. He was 7 for 9 for 63 yards, but he also had 2 passing touchdowns. So, I mean, really a shocking debut for Kevin Kelly in the Presbyterian College Blue Hills. And really overall, like, kind of my thoughts for the game is kind of 3 things. Like, number one, it's just this passing offense is just like really scary. Now, I know St. Andrews is kind of a lower level division school, but really you watch this Presbyterian College offense, I mean, you know, they're aggressive. You know, they're going to take a lot of shots downfield, and sometimes they'll have some quarterbacks run screens. They have some trick plays as well. I think I know Tyler Huff was in some formations at times, and PC was able to get some really good plays off that. And Belchiel Powell was in some screen formations. He got some nice catches as well from the screenplay. But really, like, this PC offense, like the passing yards was like really, really effective. Like, I was really impressed. And then, you know, I think with the quarterback room, I think PC should be really good for themselves because, you know, obviously Hefley's coming from Michigan, and Michigan's one of the best, you know, programs in college football historically. Obviously not now, but historically. But I mean, it's just really, really impressive, like, just to watch. And a little side note, the only quarterbacks prior to last Saturday in PC's Division I history who threw for at least 3 touchdowns and a half were Tim Rudd and Grayson Millen. Hefley had 7 in the first half. Like, it's just really, really jaw-dropping, to say the least. Now, I will say, besides the passing game and, you know, the number of points and reception yards Hefley and the receivers had, there were some times they were a little bit sloppy, I will say that. I do think, like what Kelly said in his post-game conference, that, you know, onside kicks need to improve. They were only 1 for 10 now. What's really interesting about Kelly is that if you ever watch, like, an NFL game, you know, a lot of the onside kicks that teams will do, it's kind of like the same, you know, style of kick, but Kelly has, like, a lot of different kicking styles, and really, it's going to be really interesting to watch, like, how Kelly will do this game Saturday against Fort Lauderdale. I do think he needs to improve the onside kick, but I also think, you know, there were a few times he turned over the football as well. I think St. Andrews had 3, but PC also had 2 turnovers. And I mean, really, for a football game, you want to avoid there's turnovers at large, because if you turn over the football, it makes it really hard to win. Now, the good news is that PC did win the turnover battle, but they also committed 2-1, so it was kind of like a 1 turnover difference. So that's something that they're probably going to really need to improve on. And then I probably would say the defense, because, you know, even though Presbyterian won 84-43, and I know, like, their onside kicks fails and St. Andrews were in really good position, but, like, still, I mean, PC is in a different division than St. Andrews, and I think watching the defensive line for PC and kind of the linebackers secondary, you know, there were times they got, like, outbeat, and I know it's only game 1, and I know Jeff and Amara and the defense will make some improvements, but to allow them to score 43 points when they were really a lower level than PC, I think that's a little terrifying. And I'll give you a stat line. I mean, PC's defense allowed 216 yards rushing to St. Andrews. Now, they did have a senior running back. I think the last name was McNeil, and then they also had another running back in Allen that was really good. Flower had some really good rushing yards as well. But, you know, I think, you know, look, offense wins, you know, everyone's going to talk about offense, how, you know, offense says. They mention, you know, Patrick Mahomes, the air raid offense, the West Coast offense, some of these quarterbacks that can, you know, move with their legs and throw, you know, a lot of bombs. And while I do think it's important to score points, I still personally believe that you need a good defense in order to win football games, because even in a shootout, like, the defense that stops, like, the other team from scoring, like, I mean, that kind of goes back to my point. Defense wins championships, and you really want to be able to stop, you know, both the running back and the quarterback when passing. and rushing as many times as you can, because one thing you don't want is you don't want to have the running back and the wide receivers and the quarterback get big momentum to a point where you can't overcome. You're really tired, and it just doesn't work out for you. Because I'll be honest, guys, momentum is really, really hard to get over if it's not in your side. It's like really, really difficult. And I think that you want to have strong defense, and you got to get out the quarterback. You got to stop the running game, because a running back is a quarterback's best friend, and you got to make the quarterback throw. So that's something that I'll be watching for PC's next game against Fort Lauderdale. And then time of possession is another key as well. Now the good news is PC won 31 minutes and 7 seconds compared to St. Andrews with 28 minutes and 53 seconds. But I believe that you want to win the time of possession as much as you can, especially on the offensive side of the football. So I'm not as worried about that compared to the defense, and then kind of with the onside kicks. But I do think that's another area that PC, if they want to have a successful season, they got to control the possession of time on offense. Now they will play Fort Lauderdale, I believe, on September 11th at 4:00 p.m. at Bailey Stadium. WPCX will have the game on. We'll have a pregame show which starts at 3:30. Then we'll have the game, and then we'll also have a postgame show that runs about 20 minutes after the game. So you can listen to us through the Radio FX app by subscribing to Presbyterian College and listening to the game. Or if you live, I think, in Greenwood, Newberry, Lawrence, some parts of Greenville County and Spartanburg County, you can also listen through us through the FM signal. I think the game on Saturday, I think, is something that PC has a great shot of winning. I would say, though, sometimes teams do get better after they lose a game sometimes. So I think PC's got to be careful from Fort Lauderdale. Played Southeastern and in a school called Texas Permian Basin. Southeastern was in Lakeland, Florida, and then Texas Permian Basin was in September 3rd. And it kind of looks like this is a school similar to St. Andrews based on my observation. So I do think that PC has another great shot to win on Saturday, and I think they should. And you want to try and win some of these like lower division games as you can, because in a couple of weeks you're going to be going to a Campbell team that's coached by Mike Mentor. If you're a Carolina Panther fan that watched their first Super Bowl appearance, Mike Mentor was a big part of the reason the Panthers got to the Super Bowl, their first ever appearance. But Campbell's also have had some good seasons in the past, and I think that's a tough game for PC. I think it's a really important game for PC, but in terms of Fort Lauderdale, you want to continue to build momentum, try to figure out which players are your strength on both the offensive and defensive side of the football. Which players need to improve. And I think it's kind of like a build-up, if you know what I mean, because Campbell it used to be PC's Big South Conference opponent before they went to Pioneer League, and I think that's a really important game. And I think Mike Mentor has done a really good job. So you want to build some momentum, and by going 2-0 against Fort Lauderdale, I think that's something that PC should take really strong advantage of. And then after that, then you get in the Pioneer League. You got to play Dayton, you got to play Davidson, who made the FCS playoffs last year. You got to play San Diego, who at one point had a really long winning streak, and then you got to go to some other road trips as well. And look, PC played really competitive against the guys last year. I'm not saying that they're going to be automatic losses, but I think heading into this Saturday, you want to try and build more momentum and try to try to be successful. Do the things that made you really good last Saturday. Passing the football. Trying to get pressure on the quarterback. Have passing touchdowns. Trying to recover those onside kicks. Trying to succeed in Kevin Kelly's philosophy. Those are areas I think that you really want to improve, and I think if PC can do that, then I think I kind of expect Saturday to be a similar performance to the St. Andrews game. So that's something I'll be watching for PC, and like I said, we'll have it here on WPCX this Saturday. Pre-game starts at 3:30 p.m. with the kickoff at 4 o'clock p.m. and then following the game, we should have a 20-minute post-game show as well. So, really looking forward to watching how PC comes out for this game this Saturday. Transitioning to the NFL. So, how do I see the NFL season playing out? So, I'm going to start, this is what I'll do. So, I'm going to start with the divisions, and then I'll go who I think will make it to the playoffs in AFC and the NFC, and then who I think will be in the Super Bowl in Los Angeles. So, the AFC East. In first place, I got the Buffalo Bills. I think Josh Allen had a really good year last year. I think Sean McDermott did a really good job. You got Stephon Diggs, Cole Beasley on offense, Gabriel Davis. I think is going to have a big year. Defense, Tre'Davious White. You got on the cornerback, Tremont Edmonds. You got as well. And I think Buffalo has some really good talent on defense. Last year was a little bit of a disappointment, but I think the defense will bounce back really strong. So I got Buffalo in first place. I got New England in second place. I think, with the offseason additions by Bill Belichick, I think you're really going to see a much improved New England Patriot offense compared to last year. Jonnu Smith, Hunter Henry they signed. Kendrick Bourne for the 49ers, who I think is a good receiver they also signed. Jalen Mills. You pair him with Stephon Gilmore, I think you're going to have a really good secondary. Dante Hightower comes back. So, I just don't think New England will get over the hump over Buffalo just because, you release Cam Newton and you're going to start a rookie quarterback, Mac Jones. But, I think with Mac Jones kind of being a similar system that he had at Alabama, I think he's going to be the best quarterback this year out of the quarterback draft class. I really do. So, I got New England in second place. Miami I got in third place. I think, Tua, this can be his first year as a starter. You got Devontae Parker, Jalen Waddle, Myles Gaskin, Mike Gesicki. I think offensive line might improve. I'm kind of looking at the defense. I know you got Brian Flores. He's a really good defensive coach, but I'm kind of looking at the defense. So, because the defense might be what holds Miami back, but I think Miami will finish third. New York Jets, I think it's going to be a rebuild. I got them finishing in fourth. I really like Robert Saleh. Obviously, they got Zach Wilson. But I think there's a lot of question marks on the roster overall. So I got the Jets finishing in fourth place. Now, the AFC North. I'm going with Cleveland. I really like Cleveland. I thought Baker Mayfield did a really good job last season. Kevin Stefanski was the NFL head coach of the year. You got Jarvis Landry. Let's see if Odell Beckham can have a really good year. You got a really good really good running backs in Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Defense, kind of similar to Miami. It's going to be what I'm watching, but you did bring Jadeveon Clowney in to pair with Myles Garrett, which I think is really good. So we'll see about Cleveland. I think they're going to finish in first place, and then Baltimore got in second place. That's the thing with Baltimore. I think there's some really good players, but I think the thing holding them back is Lamar Jackson because he can't throw. I mean, not to be rude, like he can throw. I mean, he's a quarterback, he can throw, but he can't, be accurate most of the times. But they did get Rashad Bateman from Minnesota in the draft, so to pair up with Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews, so let's see if that improves. But I don't know. I just think Baltimore is going to be in second place in the division. Pittsburgh, I think, is an aging roster. I like Mike Tomlin. You still got Big Ben. But I just think that, Pittsburgh probably is going to take a dip this year. I don't think they're going to be in conversation for the playoffs. And then Cincinnati, Zach Taylor's on a hot seat. You do get Joe Burrow back, but it's just because of their offensive line and kind of like their schedule. I just think it's going to be a tough year for Cincinnati overall. So, the AFC South. Indianapolis, this is going to be my surprise team. I got them finishing first in the division. You got Carson Wentz from the Philadelphia Eagles. You got a really good offensive line. I think Jonathan Taylor's going to have a good year. Receivers kind of scare me a little bit, but I think Frank Reich will find a way to get the Colts some points on the board. I think their defense is really good. I think Indianapolis is going to surprise some people. I got them finishing first. Tennessee in second. I know you have Derrick Henry and you got Ryan Tannehill, but the thing with running backs is, compared to wide receivers and quarterbacks, they're kind of on a limited lifespan, if you know what I mean. And I think over time, like my concern for Tennessee is, Henry's going to get more beat up, and I just don't think Ryan Tannehill's that guy that you can trust that can throw the ball 90% of the time to win a football game. So I got Tennessee in second. Jacksonville I got in third. I know they got Trevor Lawrence, but losing Travis Etienne really hurts. I know there's been some question marks for Urban Meyer. I have some concerns a little bit. I think Jacksonville improves a little bit from last year, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get in the playoff conversation. And in Houston, I think they're going to be the worst team in the NFL. Really not a whole lot positive for Houston. Deshaun Watson wants out. I still think it's going to be a bad year overall for Houston. AFC West, never surprised. I'm going with the Chargers to win the division. I think Justin Herbert had a really good year last year. I know they got a new coach, but Brandon Staley did a really good job with the LA Rams defense last year. Chargers got a lot of players coming back. I think they're going to get over the hump. And why do I have Kansas City second? Because, I think the Super Bowl hangover is real. I know there's been some teams that get the playoffs, but they're really not the same form that they had during their Super Bowl year. But I think Kansas City takes a little bit of a step back this year. I got them in the second place, but I do think that Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, Tyreek Hill, and then I think Clyde Edwards-Helaire will have good seasons. I'm just concerned about Kansas City defense. I just think Kansas City is going to be in second place. I think they take a little bit of a step back. Las Vegas, I thought, they started out really strong. They kind of tumbled a little bit. I think this is a make-or-break year for John Gruden. I think you got some players. I like Derek Carr, but I just don't think the Raiders believe in him. I think they finished third overall. And then Denver, kind of similar to Las Vegas. Big Fangio's on a hot seat. I like their defense, but quarterback's a big iffy mark for the Denver Broncos. I'm a Teddy Bridgewater fan. I supported him for Carolina last season, even though he did get a lot of criticism. I like Drew Lock as well, and I give it applause for Fangio because by starting Teddy Bridgewater, who has won games, and I still believe to this day, had he not had a knee injury, he would still been in Minnesota. I think he's a guy that can win you games. So I got Denver in fourth place in the AFC West. For the NFC, I'm going to say the Giants win the division. I think, with Joe Judge, I think you saw some flashes of the Giants last year. I think this is a big year for Daniel Jones, though, but I do think Dave Gettleman did a really good job in free agency and getting Jones some really good weapons. I think he surprised some people this year. I'm going to say the Giants get in first place. Dallas, I feel like every single year we talk about the Cowboys being a Super Bowl contender, but for some reason, it just doesn't pan out. I think it's just one of those things, like, I have to see it to believe it. So I got Dallas in second. Washington, I'm going to say in third. I personally think they should have kept Alex Smith. I don't think Ryan Fitzpatrick's that's much better. I do like Ron Rivera. I think the defense is going to be really good. I think Chase Young will take the next step. Offense, I think the offensive line is in work in progress, but you do have Terry McLaurin and then Antonio Gibson as the running back, but I just don't believe in Ryan Fitzpatrick. So I'm going to say Washington goes third. Philadelphia, I think in fourth place. I really don't think it was Doug Peterson's fault. Nick Siniari will come in, and I just think it's going to be a tough year for Philadelphia overall. Green Bay, I got finishing first in the NFC North. I think Aaron Rodgers coming back, I think is really key. I think probably in the NFC this is probably the weakest division, maybe in all of football, because I really don't see the other teams trying to take over the Packers. So Minnesota, I got in second place. I think Mike Zimmer bounces back, but I think I just don't believe in Kirk Cousins a lot. Chicago, they're in third place. Justin Fields will get into the rotation. I just think it's going to be rebuild for Chicago and Detroit. Similar. Chicago is better. I think with Dan Campbell in Detroit, I think it's going to be a rebuild. Tampa Bay, I got in first place. I think it's simple. They return all of their starters back. In the NFC South, I think Tampa wins that division. I got New Orleans. I think they're going to have a really good defense. And I think the key is Jameis Winston. I think Sean Payton will surprise some people with Jameis Winston. I got them in second place. Carolina, I think they got some really good players coming back on the defensive side with Brian Burns, Derek Brown, Jeremy Chin. They got J.C. Horn. Offense, you have Robbie Anderson, DJ Moore, Christian McCaffrey comes back. Kind of similar to New Orleans, I think it comes down to Sam Darnold. But I think Carolina finishes in third. I think they'll be a good team. I just think their schedule is really hard. Atlanta, I personally think they should got rid of Matt Ryan, personally in the offseason. I think this could be his last year in Atlanta. I think Arthur Smith is in a tough situation, so I got Atlanta finishing 4th place in the division. And then the Rams, I think Matthew Stafford's going to have a really good year. San Francisco, I got in 2nd place. I think that's a team. They got a lot of players coming back. I think whether it's going to be Jimmy Garoppolo or Trey Lance, I think Kyle Shanahan offense will be really good. Seattle got in 3rd place. I think they'll make the postseason with Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll. You always have a chance. I just think their schedule is a little bit hard. And in Arizona, Cliff Kingsbury's on a hot seat. I think Kyler Murray will have a good year with A.J. Green and DeAndre Hopkins. I just think, kind of similar to Seattle, I think that's just a tough schedule for Arizona. So, AFC playoffs. I'm going to go with Buffalo 1st, Cleveland 2nd, Chargers 3rd, Indianapolis 4th, Kansas City 5th, Baltimore 6th, New England 7th. NFC playoffs. Tampa Bay 1st, LA Rams 2nd, Green Bay 3rd, New York Giants 4th, San Francisco 5th, Seattle 6th, New Orleans 7th. Roll prediction, I'm going to go with Tampa versus Buffalo, and I think the Bills win the Super Bowl. I think Tampa will go back. I just think the road is a little bit difficult for them. So, it's really hard to repeat as champions, so I'm going to go with Buffalo over Tampa in the Super Bowl. So, that is all we have time for today, ladies and gentlemen. This is a friendly reminder that none of the ideas expressed in the show are ideas of the School of Faculty of Light. Everything discussed in these shows are in line with the Title IX, the Garrett Book, and the law. Are these ideas expressed today are conceived by the students themselves, have no affiliation with any anti-government or xenophobic groups. However, that out of the way, I want to thank you, each and every one of you, for tuning in on this Wednesday afternoon. I'll be back next week, and also, forgot to mention, big shout out to PC's men's soccer for beating South Carolina yesterday, 2-1 in Columbia. Very big time upset, but nevertheless, I am Mitch Mercer signing off today. I hope all of you have a good rest of your week, but you also have a good rest of your weekend, and we will see you next time on the Mitch Zone. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.
If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel and check us out on the Radio FX app by subscribing to Presbyterian College.